What's going on, everyone, and welcome into Plizzant's podcast filled to the brim with glitchy analysis and freezing cold takes, so cold that they're boiling hot. In this episode, we're going to be previewing for our college football preview series. We're going to be talking about Rutgers, the Rutgers Scarlet Knights up there in New Jersey. Let's hop right into it, talk about the stars of this team. At running back for this offense, Kyle Monagai. I believe that's how you pronounce his name, maybe Monangai, but Monagai is how I'm going to go with it. He's the running back for this team. Great feet. I think he's going to be a 1,000-yard back this season. They're going to be leaning a ton on him, and I'll get into that in just a minute on why that is, but I expect him to be a 1,000-yard back, somebody that can make explosive plays. On the defensive side of the football, Aaron Lewis. This guy is a power rusher, somebody that can get to the quarterback with force, power, ferocity, you name it. He can do it. I think this is going to be the guy to look out for on the defensive side of the ball. Now, first storyline I want to talk about. There is a major quarterback problem that Rutgers has had over the last 15 seasons. They have not had a 3,000-yard passer. I don't think anyone understands just how bad that is. 3,000 yards passing, it is, not easy by any means to do that, but 15 straight years of not a single quarterback to get 3,000 passing yards is absolutely atrocious. They didn't do it last season. They are consistently bottom 10 every year in the passing per game in every category. That's passing yards, passing attempts, total yards, doesn't matter. They're bottom 10. The offense is floundering every single season. Can they solve that? That's the number one question that I want to talk about. I definitely think it's possible, but I wanted to get in why that might not happen, but I'm a firm believer that Rutgers can turn this around this season. The losses and addition side of things. The first loss I want to talk about, I have not mentioned this in any of my other college football preview series. This is an injury. This happened 3 days ago from this recording on Friday, August 23rd, I believe. Mohamed Tour, an outside linebacker for this team, 92 tackles, 4.5 sacks last year, tore his ACL. He's going to be out for the season. That's a devastating loss right before the year. But second, Max Melton, who is a corner, he got drafted last season. I want to point out that there have been quite a few good defensive backs that have come from Rutgers, specifically the McCourty brothers. Both of those guys were really impressive in the pros. Max Melton, one of the best ones in Rutgers history. That's something cool that I wanted to point out, but that's a major loss for this Scarlet Knights team. The addition side of things, I didn't really see any good replacements for either of those guys, but on the offensive side of the ball, to finally help a quarterback get over 3,000 passing yards, Demir Miller, wide receiver from Monmouth, 1,300 yards receiving last season. Very impressive. Comes in through the portal. I think he's going to be the focal point of the passing game. Might not be a star per se. That's why I didn't mention him in the stars, but definitely somebody of note to think about when it comes to whether or not this Rutgers team is going to be able to pass the football. So that's a key addition there. The next thing I want to talk about is, by the grace of God, divisions are gone, and the most thankful of anyone is Rutgers. Every single season they had to play Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State, and sometimes they had to play Michigan State every year, but sometimes Michigan State would also be good. And that's 3 to 4 guaranteed losses every single year, and that's no fun when you're a college football program trying to improve and compete for a conference championship. I definitely think Rutgers can now do that. They just have to catch a break in the schedule, and we'll see if they caught one in just a second. We're talking about the record prediction. Last thing I want to talk about, Greg Schiano, Mr. Rutgers himself, is back in New Jersey to coach this team. He's been back since 2020, but he was the head coach there while Rutgers was in the Big East from 2001 to 2011, and he did a very good job there. I definitely think that he's a quarterback whisperer. As a matter of fact, he coached the last 3,000-yard passer, which I think is very important and something of note to make sure that we pay attention to. If, Rutgers starting quarterback is going to pass for 3,000 yards. He should, but let's go ahead and get into our record prediction. Did Rutgers catch a break in the schedule? Yes, they did. No Ohio State, no Penn State, no Michigan. Thank the Lord for this team. They needed it, and they're going to get started off with a bang, hosting Howard and hosting Akron. Akron, although they lost some of their most significant contributors on their offense, that's still a sneaky team that could come in and really upset Rutgers, but I'll give them the benefit of the doubt and say that they will beat Akron, and of course they will beat Howard, starting off the year 2-0. Their other out-of-conference game, though, at Virginia Tech, and that's a really tough place to play. On top of that, Virginia Tech's defense is out of this world this year, and Rutgers' offense has not really improved that much. So Virginia Tech steals the win over Rutgers there, hosting Washington. Now, Jed Fish walks into this Huskies program after basically Kalen DeBoer and Michael Penix cleaned out the locker room when they got drafted and left for Alabama. He's going to be a rebuild, and he's traveling from Washington to Rutgers. I think that makes a huge difference. Rutgers pulls off the win over a college football playoff team from last season. Very impressive. But then they go at Nebraska, and while I don't think Nebraska is as good as people are saying right now, people are saying that they're a 7-8 win team. I don't believe it, but I do believe in home field advantage. That stadium is going to be packed like it always is. That's a loss there for Rutgers. Hosting Wisconsin, probably the toughest in-conference game of the season at home. I will give Rutgers the benefit of the doubt. That's a win. Luke Fickell at Wisconsin is having a little bit of trouble building up this program. I think that Wisconsin is going to slip just a hair and lose this game in a nail-biter to Rutgers. Then hosting UCLA. Chip Kelly, out of nowhere, leaves this team. They don't look like they're going to recover in a fully effective way. So I'm going to give Rutgers yet another win. So let's take a look here. They're 5-2 going on the road from Rutgers to USC. I do not see them getting the win there, even though I'm a big hater of this USC team with Lincoln Riley and their incapable defense. I think Rutgers probably still loses that game. They probably lose it in a shootout, and it's because they don't have a passer like USC has had over the last 2 seasons. Back to the record prediction. Last 4 games of the season. Hosting Minnesota, at Maryland, at Michigan State, I believe. Hosting Minnesota, excuse me, y'all. Hosting Minnesota, at Maryland, hosting Illinois, at Michigan State. That's more likely. Those are 4 wins. And I'm not sure people are prepared to hear that, but Michigan State is a mess. Illinois is trying to recover from disappointing season after disappointing season. Maryland is on the verge of going into complete collapse just because their quarterback in Talia Tungavaloa, I believe Tua's little brother, didn't really pan out. And then on top of that, Minnesota and PJ Fleck, I do not buy that situation there. The defense is good. The offense is not. Rutgers will win all 4 of these games and go 9-3 to close out the year. They're going to capitalize off the fact that they do not have to play one of the big 3 of the old Big Ten. That's going to do it for this episode talking about Rutgers football. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.